Hello once again, my friends. It is time for another episode of Monster Monday, so let's jump into it. But first, I'm going to need you to roll for initiative. Today we venture into the realm of the Beholder, a unique lair where nightmares bend and shape reality. Beholders are the ever-floating, all-seeing, all-paranoid, brilliant tyrants of dungeons, ruins, and especially the Underdark. Their massive eye stalks are ever-shifting, allowing the Beholder to see in all directions at all times. Beholders are hard to miss, being essentially a floating head with one massive eye surrounded by a bunch of smaller eye stalks. Aside from those 11 eyes, again, one large one, 10 smaller ones. The main feature of a beholder's anatomy is its massive, gaping, toothy maw. Because of these features, beholders are occasionally known as spheres of many eyes or eye tyrants, although the latter also refers to a specific type of beholder that I will discuss in a moment. Some of the behaviors and motivations that beholders exhibit are similar, even analogous to those of humans, dwarves, elves, other intelligent creatures. The difference is one of degree. If you remember when I talked about the Shadowfell and the Feywild, we discussed the idea of the Feywild being a plane of existence where emotions were dialed up to 11. So imagine that inside of a creature, with a beholder, for instance, where a prideful, confident human might cower in the face of a serious threat. The arrogance of a beholder knows no such bounds. It believes it is superior to everything else, even other beholders. It will never run away. It will never back down, despite its paranoia and fear. A human chess player in real life, Bobby Fischer, one of the best grandmasters in history, became that way by honing the ability to look several moves ahead during a game of chess. That is still no match for how far ahead a beholder can plan, accomplishing its goals with its superior intelligence and awareness. Xenophobic and vicious creatures, beholders were quick to attack enemies, including anyone they deemed not like themselves. Beholders, as a rule, are violent. They're greedy. They hunger for wealth and power. They accumulate riches. This was made all the more complicated since more than one variety of beholder exists, each believing itself to be the pinnacle bodily perfection, and they viewed other beholders who differed from this image in even the most minute details as loathsome enemies and inferiors. We can literally be talking about an eye stalk that is half an inch bigger or smaller than the beholder that is looking at it. A beholder is created through a very particular set of circumstances, almost all of them governed by dreams. When a beholder sleeps, its body goes briefly dormant, but its mind never stops. The creature is completely aware, even though to an outside observer, it might appear oblivious of its surroundings. Sometimes a beholder's dreams are dominated by images of itself or of other beholders, real or imagined through paranoia. On extremely rare occasions, when a beholder dreams of another beholder, the act creates an actual warp in reality from which a new, fully formed beholder springs forth, having appeared out of thin air in a nearby space. This offspring might be a duplicate of the beholder that dreamed it into existence, or it could take the form of a different variety of beholders, such as a death kiss or a gazer. In most cases, the process yields one of three principal forms of beholder: a solitary beholder, a hive, or a death tyrant. Most of the beholders in the world live apart from others of their kind. They are solitary, paranoid creatures. Everything about them is paranoid. If you're a DM and you're running a beholder, it is paranoid. It has plans on top of plans on top of plans. When your adventurers arrive to fight the beholder, it saw this coming. It saw every possible iteration of what this could look like coming, because this is what beholders spend all of their time doing, being paranoid. So when a solitary beholder dreams another beholder into existence, the creature's basic nature often means the first thing they try and do is kill each other. They have no desire to be next to another creature. If they see another beholder, that beholder is definitely trying to take what they have built and the riches they have amassed, and that other beholder is definitely only there in order to kill that beholder. A solitary beholder lairs within a cave system or a ruined structure, either one of its own making or a place the creature took over after killing or driving off the beholder that gave it birth. In exceedingly rare cases, a beholder might experience a dream in which it sees itself in a mirror, or encounters several copies of itself, or imagines a sensation akin to what humanoids would call multiple personalities. At such time, the beholder's dream birthing creates a beholder hive, a group of newborns that are identical to its own shape, but smaller. As the beholder ages, instead, it might become more and more worried about its own mortality, spending more and more time thinking of its own death. The dreams of such a death-fearing beholder might reach into very strange corners of reality and imagine different circumstances in which the beholder could live after it dies. And when the beholder awakens, it finds itself transformed into a death tyrant. It now exists in a state of undeath, a little bit more powerful than a normal beholder, yet its fear of being killed remains unabated. A death tyrant's paranoia about its enemies tends to be related to how it fears that it will be destroyed, and it takes that fear into account when creating its plans. For example, a death tyrant who imagined it would eventually be slain by frost giants might relocate its lair to the inside of a volcano, send its minions to hunt down all frost giants within 100 miles, or take other drastic measures to ensure that the fear never becomes reality. And this can create a really interesting plot hook for your players. Maybe there's a specific type of creature or a specific region in which something is happening that is unexplained. There's rash killings of X, Y, Z, whatever those creatures are, could just have been the product of the fear of this death tyrant. But a death tyrant is not the only possibility. You can also have an eye tyrant, and if you've ever heard of Xanathar, this is him. Or them, I guess, since the Xanathar might in reality just be a title, kind of like the Dread Pirate Roberts. Eye tyrants are still xenophobic, terrifying, and dangerous, but they decide to put their feelings of superiority to use and create an organization to lead. They are less paranoid than their other kin, which enables them to actually work with other creatures. Basically, they are the entrepreneurs and hustlers of the beholder world. So be careful if one comes around with some essential oils. It's probably sovereign glue. You can also end up with a gazer, which I talked about in a previous video and has been described by Wizards of the Coast as a puppy. So I'm thinking that Gary Gygax probably never met a puppy. With an average armor class of 18 and average hit points around 180, this challenge rating 13 monster is pretty average in those regards. However, beholders are a little squishy, and I don't just mean their moist, glistening flesh that reminds me of Alien. They have no damage resistances or damage immunities to speak of. Their only conditional immunity is prone because, hey, they float naturally. Beholders, who often attack for seemingly no reason, would often try to end battles as quickly as possible. They're going to unleash everything as hard and fast as they can. They are not going to wait. They are going to come, and they're going to come hard, attacking everyone with every possible action they can take. Among the most basic of these attacks is their deadly ability to project magical power from their eyes in varying forms such as charm, paralysis, fear, slow, enervation, telekinesis, sleep, petrification, disintegration, and even a death ray. Beholder's central eye is not just for looking, either. Your typical beholder can emit an anti-magic cone from that massive eye, similar to the anti-magic field spell. The cone is 150 feet, freaking massive. At the start of each of its turns, the beholder decides which way the cone faces and whether the cone's active, and the area does work against the beholder's own eye rays, so keep that into account. If there is an adventurer that is completely inside of that anti-magic cone, the beholder is not going to be able to cast the charm ray on that adventurer. So again, it has a total of 11 eyes. It doesn't matter if the beholder turns its back to you, it can still fight you and still kill you very easily. Beholders, much like dragons and other powerful creatures, have lairs, meaning they have lair actions. Beyond that, their presence has marked effects on the region surrounding their lair. The Monster Manual describes these regional effects as small warps in reality that are caused by the beholder's aberrational presence. Maybe creatures within a mile of the beholder's lair sometimes feel as if they're being watched even when they aren't. Markings on cave walls might move and adjust and change over time. Some sickening trinket might appear where it wasn't before. Any of these changes that happen will disappear 24 hours later. But while fighting inside of its lair, the Beholder can invoke the ambient magic to take lair actions. The Beholder can pick a 50-foot square of land within 120 feet of itself and create difficult terrain as the ground itself becomes slimy. The Beholder can also cause these pseudopod-like appendages to sprout out of the walls and start slamming and grasping at any creatures of its choice within the lair. If a creature is within 10 feet of the wall, they need to make a dex save, and if they fail, they're grappled. And a Beholder also has legendary actions. Each action can be used to activate one eye stalk, and it gets 3 of those actions every round, and it can use one of them after another creature's turn. So if it's facing a party of 5 adventurers, it goes, and then the Barbarian goes. At the end of the Barbarian's turn, an eye is activated. Then the Wizard goes. At the end of the Wizard's turn, another eye is activated. Then the Cleric goes. At the end of the Cleric's turn, another eye is activated. So they are pretty squishy from a defensive standpoint, but they are a cannon from an offensive standpoint, and in the gaming world, we do refer to them as glass cannons. Needless to say, Beholders are freaking amazing and terrifying and awful, and I love using them. So if you're a dungeon master and you've ever used a Beholder or have a fun story, please share it in the comments down below. If you're a player and you've encountered a Beholder, tell me how it went. Did anyone die? Did you all survive? What was it like, and how was the scene set to convey the terrifying presence of this awful creature? So if you like this video, give it a like. If you disliked it, give it a dislike. And either way, subscribe for future videos, because you might not have liked this one, but you might like the next one. We also have a Facebook group that you can join and be a part of the conversation that helps to determine what these Monster Monday episodes are about. But thank you for sticking around here until the end. I love your faces. My name's John. I've been your RPG Pastor, and I will see you on Thursday.